Hey everyone, Steph here, and today I have Andy and Beau from the band the Atomic Beau Project here to chat about their latest single called Fall to the Beast for the Faction. Hey Andy and Beau, how are you?
We're going well. We're going really well. We're rocking
Yeah, it's
like
good.
we've had like 10 days of rain, but we love it, so we're happy.
Yeah, depressing weather. It's so good.
Feels like Melbourne and Queen and Brisbane have like swapped seasons at the moment.
Oh,
Completely.
totally.
I feel a little bit London, actually. I'm loving it.
It's really good. I mean, I'm originally from Queensland, so I'm used to the heat.
Yes, the humidity.
Yeah. All right, so the first question I've got is how did the Atomic Beau Project come together?
Cool.
Oh, so we started out as myself and Andy, our drummer, and it kind of just was a duo project, I'd say, for a little while. And we're both trained musicians. So I'm a violinist and Andy's a drummer. He's been to the con and stuff like that. So we both had kind of like a classical-esque background, and then we kind of went from there, and just it evolved into needing a band. And then we found our bass player who plays around Brisbane a lot, Luke Woollett, and then a guitarist called Jack Gardner. And his dad's actually quite big in the metal scene, and he's also a guitarist. And we got him on board, and then it became the Atomic Beau Project band.
Yeah, that sounds really
Yeah.
cool. So
Yeah.
did you have the name beforehand, or did you come up with it?
This is your domain, Andy.
Oh, okay, yep. Because I've got no like visual cue to go off. I don't know if you're like thinking or what are you doing?
No, you're right.
I just have to guess. Yeah, so like I guess the name came up because Beau is actually like traditionally more like a folky kind of singer. And so she used to like sing under the name Beau quite a lot. And so we wanted to, I guess the idea with this band was to combine kind of like really heavy sort of instrumentation with more like kind of like folky kind of singing, like kind of like folky poppy sort of singing. And so I guess the name came from like the idea behind it was like beefing up Beau's vocals somehow. So it's like, oh, what's something that's beefed up? It's like, oh, you know, like a nuclear bomb is kind of like beefing something up. So we just did like the Atomic Beau Project. But also like we were I was into a band called the Devon Townsend Project. I don't know if you've heard of him
Oh
before.
yeah,
I was
yeah.
listening to a lot of him at the time. And I think maybe like unconsciously I might have like stolen a little bit of that too.
I don't know. I feel like a lot of people have projects. There was a
Oh,
project as
totally.
well. And I
Oh,
think
there's
that's
heaps of
where,
project bands. Yeah,
yeah, and I
for
think it came
sure.
from that too. Like we started it out as just a thing where we were recording, you know, from
Yeah.
Andy's like spare room. And it went from that and just, let's just see what happens. Andy produces all of our music. So he
Yeah. And I
mixes
get,
it. Yeah. And
yeah.
we kind of went from there to getting the guys. So it literally felt like a project.
Yeah, it was, I guess that was like probably a good point. It was kind of like a side project to start off with. I guess like we would, like, because we were both doing uni and stuff at the time and we were playing for other bands. And so this was kind of like our little, like, baby project we had on the side. You know, we'd record all the stuff at home, we'd write all the stuff at home, we'd mix it all, we'd play all the instruments ourselves and just kind of like release it and promote it ourselves. So I guess that was like kind of like I don't know, it's probably like the deeper meaning of the band's name. And then even though we've kind of like expanded to have like other players in the band, we still kept the project part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it sounds good. It's a different name too, so
Thank
stand out
you.
from the crowd.
For sure.
So the single Fall to the Beast has been out now for, I want to say, over a month.
That would probably be about right. I
Yeah.
think. Yeah, actually, yes, you're right.
Yeah.
Just over.
So what's the response been like considering how personal it is?
It's been great. I think when we got featured on Triple M, obviously that's such a win for us. Played on Triple J, we don't really expect those things to happen. So when they happen, it's just, yeah, amazing. And I think, yeah, this is probably the deepest song, as in having a very personal meaning to us. So yeah, it was kind of beautiful, I guess, not to sound dramatic.
And it's kind of cool. Like, I think for us, because like we, like in the past when we were playing with other bands and stuff like that, we would always kind of like, you know, we'd like hire a producer or like hire recording engineers and stuff like that to record our stuff. But I think with this band and this song in particular, it's kind of like a weird feeling when you produce everything just at home, basically in this room. I mean, now you can sort of see the microphone we sing through, like it's just like we're recording at home. And it's kind of really cool getting that kind of response from like mainstream like radio stations like Triple J, like backing you when you're basically just doing it from your bedroom. It's kind of like, yeah, a surreal feeling that that can actually be done. Whereas it used to be this idea that you had to go to this like bigger studio, like Sony Studios or something like that, record it there, have this big name producer before it'd even be considered for like radio play. So yeah, we're pretty stoked for that reason how it's been received.
Yeah, it's gotten a lot of traction, I've seen.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, Beau, I want to ask, with the song being so personal, with being about your battle with depersonalization, I want to say is what disorder.
Yes, that's it.
What was the process like writing about it, about something that's terrifying and very, very personal?
Yeah, I guess it was kind of a therapy to write about it, honestly. Because depersonalization, it's basically, for those who don't know, it's a side effect of severe anxiety where you feel kind of like out of your body and you have very existential thoughts all the time that almost become an OCD. Like you just think about them all the time and you just feel like you're out of your own body. But learning to overcome it is really falling to the beast. So it's, you know, just letting yourself feel anxious, letting yourself feel all the feelings, and eventually you're not as afraid of it anymore. So it's kind of a song that's deeply rooted in just allowing something and really stop fighting. So I think writing it about that was just, yeah, another form of therapy, and it really did help me get over that really scary point in my life. Like I still have it and I still feel like I'm not quite in my body every single day, but it's definitely gotten better.
Yeah, that's really good to hear.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a bit deep, and I think it's a very under talked about condition, depersonalization, in the realms of, you know, mental health, because you're always hearing about depression and anxiety or, you know, OCD, eating disorders. And whilst those things are really important, I think it'd be nice to hear more about depersonalization. And we've received a lot of messages since releasing the single of people who are like, I have this, but no one's ever spoken about it before.
Yeah, it's really good trying to bring attention to a disorder that goes unrecognized in the mainstream, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, like, when I think about that too, there's probably a million other disorders that we just never hear about because it's not, you know, in vogue, I guess, to put it bluntly. So it's nice to sort of bring some awareness to that.
Yeah, I agree. I'm a big mental health advocate, and yeah, I hadn't really heard much of depersonalization before. I had heard of it, but like not as much.
Wow, no, that's so interesting, and it's so good to hear that you had heard of it. And I think the more work we can do around like talking up about mental health, like, is good, you know.
Yeah, it'll hopefully bring light to things that also no one's ever heard of, that might be like a rare condition or something.
Definitely. And I think there's a lot of shame as well about speaking up. Like I had anxiety since I was like, you know, a young teenager, and I was like always afraid to talk about it, especially in music, because I think there's a stigma, like you got to be this like front woman and, you know, front person and have this like ultra strength. But so many of us, you know, just have battles that we can't talk about. And I think talking about it isn't weak, it's actually strong.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, thank you.
Right. So Max, then I want to say Houston.
Yes.
Yeah.
Features on the single with some heavy, brutal screams, and he also shot the music video. What was it like working with him?
We've had Max, like we've known him for a while. It's kind of like a weird sort of twist of fate because he is from the same town Beau grew up in. And we just kind of like hired him one day to do some photos and stuff like that for us. Because like we saw him online. It's like a friend of a friend. I'm like, oh, this is cool. Like we'll get him to do some photos. And it must have been about like 2 or 3 photo shoots we've done with the guy before he actually like told us that he was actually like a hardcore metal singer. And it was in this band. He was in a band called Rivals, and they like toured around Australia with like I can't remember. They toured with like this big name like metalcore guys. It's like, how did we not know this whole time? It's like, yeah. And so he's like, oh, okay, we'll have a listen to how he sounds. And he's just like, he showed us a couple of his tracks, and we're like, how did we not know this? And so we just like approached him and said, yeah, and I'm so modest about it, and like really kind of like like unassuming. So I got him into the studio one day, kind of didn't know what to expect, and he just like belted it out in this room actually. But yeah, it's awesome. Like he's just like one of those guys, like multi-talented. Like he helps us shoot the video clips, helps us do our photos, comes in, sings parts, like writes a few of the lyrics as well. So yeah, it was just
he's
awesome.
a top guy as well. Like he's just such a good human. So it just makes life so good to have him around.
Yeah, he sounds like, I was looking at his Facebook page and I was like, oh, he does all different things.
Yeah, so talented. He's one of those like multi, a lot of musos or people who work in muso like land, we all kind of have all these artistic things on the go, but he just really smashes them all.
Yeah, he sounds like a top guy.
Yeah, he is.
So you've released a few singles now. Is there any plans for an album or an EP, or are you just going to continue releasing singles?
I think it's kind of a time will tell thing. Hey, Andy.
Yeah, it's like a weird, I don't know, it's kind of a tough one, like the toss up between doing like an album, an EP, or a single, because I think like music, like the preferences for how people consume music is like changing so fast, It's like, it was only up to like maybe like a few years ago, like you had to release an album to be considered in like ARIA charts and all that kind of stuff. And then they introduced like a single category, and then they introduced like an internet single category. So it's like, I don't know, I guess every band, every music kind of struggles with like knowing how to navigate that, like what's the best option for you. But I think for us, it makes a lot of sense to like release singles, because we kind of like write and record as we go. Like we'll write a song, record it, make a clip, release it, and we're back in the studio doing it again. I think because we do all this stuff from home, we can do that. But if we were limited by like having to book out studio time and having to book out a producer, your time is very precious in that setting. Like you have to get that stuff done within like a week or two, because time is money. So I sometimes think a lot of the driving force is sometimes like economical, like you have to go and make the most of your time by recording an album.
But I don't want us to say this and then we go and do an EP.
So
I think we'll keep it like open,
Totally.
Yeah.
That's probably just where we're at the moment. But ideally, we would probably release like a bunch of songs together at the same time.
Yeah, no, sounds good. So you've also shared the stage with some of the likes of like Cog and Red Hook and Voyager. What has been some of the standout shows that you've already played, and are there any plans to play some more shows soon?
Yeah, I think the other festival where we played with those bands was definitely the highlight for us guys. Like that was just insane, like playing at the Fortitude Valley Music Hall. I don't know if you've been there, but it's so good.
Yeah, that was That was a really good one. Hey, that was like the
Yeah.
first gig back after 2020 where there was no gigs because of COVID.
Yeah, we broke the COVID kind of with that, and it was so good.
Mm,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's been really good. Like Melbourne's just gotten more capacity limits now. So we're at full capacity in
Wow.
venues. So it's going to be very interesting.
Oh,
Mm,
that's so exciting. And yeah, I feel like we're ready for gigs to, come back, but also I don't know, I feel like the future for us for gigs, we're just kind of waiting and seeing because we're in Queensland, it changes daily. So we're not putting all our eggs in that basket. That's why we're
mm,
planning to do some releases hopefully soon, maybe one before
mm.
Christmas. Just keeping our music coming out because, not everyone can get out at the moment. So
Mm,
just making things really accessible for everyone is kind of a priority.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like using the online platforms and stuff to reach everyone
Yeah.
that who can't get out and see a show or something.
Mm,
Yeah.
Yeah, well said. That's exactly where we're at. So we're just,
yeah,
and
totally.
it changes daily. So we're just kind of keeping our music in a way that we can control the outcome versus waiting on, seeing what
Mm,
new news there is every day.
Yeah, definitely.
mm.
So has there been any positives to come out of the whole COVID pandemic lockdown situations?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I
We
think,
cut,
yeah,
yeah.
sorry, Andy, did you want to?
Oh, no, I was going to say, we just like, because we're kind of like, I don't know, probably introverts at heart, even though we like
Yeah.
playing gigs on stage and stuff. Like, I kind of liked lockdown, contrary to most of the world and most of the country. I kind of dug it. Like, I was just at home playing with my gear, playing with my computers, we'd like write a whole bunch of tracks and stuff like that.
Yeah. See, I'm a bit the opposite. I do miss live gigs, but the good to come out of it was that we had a lot more time to write and just really focus in on our sound, what we want to do in the future, and
Mm,
getting more songs out quicker, I think, without distraction.
mm,
So there's been a lot of creativity, I think, that's come from
yeah.
lockdown, and it hasn't all been bad, that's for sure. But I am ready to get
Yeah,
out of
for
it. I get a bit
sure.
itchy feet or whatever they call it.
I mean, I guess we've been kind of lucky because we're up in Queensland and like we had, I don't even remember the last lockdown we had. That's how little it's had. Unlike Melbourne, which is like, I don't know, it feels like you guys had like 3 years of lockdowns or something down there.
That's
So
what it
like, I'm
Oh,
obviously, yeah, I mean, obviously coming from a place of like, oh, I've had a little taste of a lockdown
yeah,
compared
but
to what you guys had
you're
down
on the
there.
sunshine. You're on the Sunshine Coast, Andy, and I think in Brisbane it was a lot harder, for
Oh,
people. So
okay.
it just
Yeah.
depends on where you are.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Melbourne's now the most locked down city in the world, so we've got that going for us.
Oh, wow. Is that the title?
Wow.
Yeah, it got
Right.
announced like a couple of weeks ago after we came out of lockdown.
You deserve like
Gosh.
a medal or something or a reward.
Yeah, definitely.
Uh,
Well, thanks for chatting to me.
no worries. It's our
Thanks for
pleasure.
having us. Yeah, you're so easy to talk to, Steph. Or can I call you Steph or Stephanie?
Yeah, that's
Sorry. Steph, awesome. Yeah, thank you so much. You're very easy to talk to.